For the past few years, BitMEX was the sole leading cryptocurrency derivatives exchange. It was a pioneer in this field and influenced the current and the previous market cycles of 2017. Today, we sit with its CEO, Alex Hoeptner, to discuss what's going on following the resolution with the CFTC, how BitMEX selects which coin to add, and what it's like to follow in the footsteps of Arthur Hayes, the previous iconic CEO and founder of BitMEX. Will BitMEX move into spot markets? Stay tuned to find out in this podcast brought to you by Crypto Potato. Also, don't forget to smash the like button if you enjoyed the video, subscribe to our channel, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss on any new podcasts coming up in the future. Hello, Alex. It's great having you here, man. Thanks so much for agreeing to do this.
Hey, George. Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, so let's jump right into it. First of all, can you tell us a little bit more about yourself? You come from the field of traditional finance. I'm curious to know if you think there are things that both fields like crypto and traditional finance can learn from each other, if they can supplement each other in some way.
Absolutely. I mean, even if maybe the more crypto native folks might not like to hear it, but crypto is actually in a lot of sense like the classic traditional financial world like 25 to 30 years ago. We're living through this a little bit of the same time, coming from an unregulated, a little bit unstructured world, going to the regulated world, seeing the same effects like we've seen like 30 years ago with the traditional financial world. With the development of mass market adoption, with the development of the regulatory framework. So it is actually, unfortunately, I have to say, quite similar, the developments that are going on, but just on a much faster pace. So what you've seen over the last 30 years in the traditional financial world now happened in 2 or 3 years. So that means we have to adopt to this new pace. And for me, that was really the bridge between the two worlds, as I'm coming, as you said, from the traditional side, having earlier, like 2012, 13, already jumped into that space, then at Börse Stuttgart to really bringing a traditional classical exchange fully into the crypto side is actually gapping that bridge or bridging that gap, sorry for this way around, on that place and actually building on this experience from the traditional world to have accelerate the crypto side. And so this is, for me, it's a perfect moment in time. And especially on the derivative side, as you see that a lot of markets are already developing on the spot side and brokerage fees and custody, derivatives for me are the next big thing.
Yeah, and can we talk a little bit about 100x, the corporate structure behind BitMEX? Because I feel not a lot of people are aware of how the company operates. Most of them are just familiar with the face of the company, let's say BitMEX, which is one of the biggest and most popular derivatives exchanges. So you guys took plenty of steps following what happened with the CFTC. Can you tell us a little bit more about what's the current focus of the company and what do you guys concentrate on?
Yeah, firstly, 100x is the holding company behind BitMEX, which is the operational brand and which will be the powerhouse once again on driving the derivatives markets, but also the beyond derivative strategy that we do going forward. So the plan is naturally to move into spot brokerage, custody, information products, so all the data products and indices, and let's say surround this with an educational arm, because I think that, and we believe that there's still a lot of educational work to be done to get to a fully mass market adoption. And this naturally will all be done under the brand that everybody knows, the BitMEX brand. And for us, it's really as the first and foremost KYC and AML derivatives exchange globally to build on this, the next step that we'll see from the regulatory front end, and not only in the derivatives space, but also naturally in the other fields that we are building out. Where definitely spot and custody are now really the ones that are probably the hottest topics that we have to tackle. And as you see from the discussions that regulators are driving globally, this is also where you see the most of the discussions coming from.
So we can expect BitMEX to move into spot as well?
Absolutely. We announced it back in time when we announced our Beyond Derivative strategy. And I think spot is very important. As you see, there's a lot of interesting new asset classes coming, actually, tokenized asset classes coming, all discussions around the NFT space, but we'll probably see in the future a lot of more tokens and rights to be tokenized, whether this is energy, whether this is mobility, and they all need a trading-like infrastructure. And the on-ramp of that is the spot piece.
Right.
And so offering that to our clients to increase our client base for classical crypto products, as well as new asset classes, is fundamental for the growth.
So about those new asset classes, perhaps you're talking about, for example, tokenized shares of different companies.
At some point in time, yes. I think that there is still a lot of regulatory work to be done. In a lot of jurisdictions, you can actually already issue security tokens or tokenized securities. You can store, so custody them, and trade them peer-to-peer. But there's very little regulation when it comes to fungible secondary markets, so like an open order book type of trading. Right. And so far, security tokens is not something that we have on our platform. We need more regulatory framework on that one, but definitely is something of big interest, not only for us, but also from the client's perspective.
And speaking about regulations, do you think that regulators will try to fit crypto within an existing framework that they're already employing, or do you think that they will start to think in coming up with something new that is particularly tailored to the specifics of crypto?
A bit both. The issue here is regulators that it is not the natural tendency of the regulator to move before the market. The market Right. needs to come with the examples and educate, in a sense, the possibilities of new technical environments and developments. So what that means is that regulators will most likely first put crypto into the same buckets like traditional financial products, which naturally is wrong because of the capabilities and possibilities of the crypto and tokenized world on a blockchain. Now, Right. it is our obligation as industry to now educate together with the regulators, the mass market, and make it visible to them what the benefits are there, and that not regulation should be put on us one-to-one, but really in an adopted manner. But this comes to us. We cannot expect the regulators to be more advanced than we are in that space. We need to get to them and discuss, and in a process develop the new regulation, which is proper and fitting to the crypto industry. And I think there we still have a lot to do as an industry.
Right. And one of the things that we're seeing in the past couple of years is particularly strengthened approach to KYC. And you guys did a lot of, spent a lot of effort upping your KYC policies, making sure that your entire trading volume is verified. But do you think that if this becomes, I think it, in a sense, it already has become the industry standard. Do you think that this can perhaps harm derivatives and spot exchanges, like the mandatory KYC procedures?
I doubt it. Honestly, when you look at, again, unfortunately, I have to say this, when you look into traditional derivatives markets, which are a factor larger than the spot markets, they all have KYC. Did that harm that market? Not at all. Is change generally firstly something which is naturally not something everybody jumps directly on it, and is by this introduction of a KYC and AML model and processes, is it something that directly drives volumes? No, naturally not. But as you said, it's a market standard. It's the bare minimum every regulator will require markets to operate under. And for us, it's a given, it's a must-have. And we will see volumes coming back. And as you've seen from the announcements of other market participants, it is a market standard already.
Yeah. And we had an interview with Kevin O'Leary recently, and he also talked about compliance, and that if we expect big money to come into the industry, we have to be compliant. And this is the biggest concern for institutional grade investors. It's not the volatility or whatever else, it's just compliance.
Correct.
Okay, so I have to take you back a little bit. BitMEX was perhaps the sole market leader in terms of derivatives back in the days, especially between 2017 and 2019. But this also caused a lot of people to start talking about price manipulation. You know, you guys accounted for the majority of the derivatives traded volume by an order of magnitude. I don't know how much higher your traded volume was from the second exchange. And this all seemed to have culminated in March 2020 when Bitcoin crashed. What do you have to say about all of this?
I think that the market developed a lot over the last couple of years, and that's the most important thing. The Bitcoin or cryptocurrencies and the market itself has been much more and become much more resilient to individual, let's say, situations in the market. And this again is a very natural development, which when you look back at the traditional financial world, it was pretty much the same. And when you see that a lot of, and that can be even a Twitter tweet from some fancy person who influences the market. And a couple of years ago, that might have directly caused a huge issue, and now not so much anymore, although maybe every so often it does. But this is the most important thing. I think with the maturity of the market, with more mass market adoption, with more institutional players coming, with more data around what's happening on that market, the market matures to a sense that, as I said, individual aspects are not taking that impact on the market anymore. For us, as BitMEX, we did a lot to secure the stability of the system. When we had the high volatile days this year, BitMEX was up and running without any interference at all. And I think this gives us the good feeling that we are on the right track with the regulatory framework, with system integrity. So I think going forward, we'll see less and less impacts onto the markets as we've seen over the last couple of years.
Right. So just to break it down for our listeners, pretty much as the market grows and it becomes bigger and more mature, we will see a lot less individual impact. And perhaps a pretty clear way to give an example of is the Elon Musk effect, right? Because we see that whenever that guy tweets, the market moves. But basically, the bigger the market becomes, the weaker this individual impact will be. It's sort of like a self-regulating environment where you don't need a lot of external impact to properly regulate this market. So it becomes one big enough where these kinds of things won't have any impact. Okay, that's pretty neat. Yeah. Fast forward to 2021. We saw what is arguably the biggest bull run in crypto's history, Bitcoin hitting 65K, Ethereum over 4K and whatnot. I'm curious, from a derivatives exchange point of view, what was your biggest challenge? Because I would assume that you saw an uptick in pretty much every metric. So what was the hardest thing that you guys had to tackle?
Actually, honestly, not a lot, I have to say. I mean, we did a lot of homework over the last years and put a lot of effort in the system integrity and stability. So when the big volatility happened, running Q1 of this year, we naturally saw an uptick in volume, but that had no impact whatsoever on our performance. And I think volatility in the crypto space is just a given, and it's in a sense it's healthy. And we see with now, as we said before, with maturity of the market, we might see less of that. Again, less impacts of individual situations in the market, but it will always be something that, at least for the time being, will accompany us. And so for us, that was not really a huge issue. It is a huge development going on, but especially from the interest of market participants into that. 2019, I would say, really kicked off for institutional players and institutional interest into that space, especially also on the custody side. Mass market, extremely on the retail side. And that again mean that for institutional grade player who want to come into that field, derivatives as a hedging purpose, options as hedging, are very interesting products to be, let's say, to be able to offer. And so you see more and more of this, of these players pushing into that market, even supporting developments into that. And that again means that regulation needs to move faster because these players move into that. And this is more the impact that we see. So the interest of more traditional players into that space, the interest of retail into that space, that drives a lot. And we've seen this across the board, also with other exchanges, an uptick of volume and users. I think that's something that everybody has to, stomach in a sense. Yeah, it's a nice problem to have. Nevertheless, if that happens, it can still be quite challenging to move all of that in parallel.
Okay, so because that obviously wasn't the case back in the days, right? I mean, a lot of the exchanges, including BitMEX, unfortunately, were experienced downtimes at crucial times, like when Bitcoin was spiking up. A lot of the exchanges, and in some cases, including BitMEX, were going off. What was the biggest and the most impactful change that you guys made to prevent this from happening?
It's again a little bit let's say a classical thing. You have a trading engine. You need to scale the trading engine on the relevant performance parameters so that if you have spikes, that they don't impact you and push for delays in the system or queuing up of transactions. In the traditional world, in a lot of regulations, they force you to have twice the capacity of the largest peak you have seen, to have available for your engines to operate. This is something naturally that the crypto industry, not on the broad bandwidth, have for themselves. And this was the big work that we did over the last end of 2020, starting 2021. That allowed us then to operate with much more volatility and spike in transactions without any interruption. So it is a little bit the normal stuff that you have to do with a trading environment. You have to build it in a sense that is able to stomach the volume peaks that you are anticipating. Now, every market can explode in the sense that you can bring every system to the knees. But let's say with a reasonable outlook, you can actually work in this direction. And this is what we did.
Right. And we can currently see that the derivatives market is pretty much centered around Bitcoin. I mean, it's just the established market leader. But in 2021, I think that we saw a lot of the altcoins explode in value, especially Ethereum. Do you see a future where things change around? Do you see a future where Ethereum, for example, is the cryptocurrency that's leading in terms of traded volume?
There's a lot of discussions around this. Firstly, there's discussions around Bitcoin being the new gold or the old gold or the better gold or whatever. So is maybe ETH taking over the role that Bitcoin had at the beginning? Well, that's quite hard to anticipate. But let's see. I think with the change of proof of stake and proof of
work.
Exactly, proof of work. We'll have to see how big the impact there is. Now, there's a lot of discussion going on around this, so that can even lead in a certain direction. I'm a little bit too, can you already foresee this? No, I can't. Okay. Is there a chance? Yes, it is. Because, whenever Bitcoin, we have the full amount of Bitcoin mined, what is the impact then? Is that then purely used to store value? Is then moving over, and is ETH then taking over? Well, so far I try to step away from this discussion too much.
And it's a well-known fact within the industry that the founders of 100x currently face their own legal issues and challenges. Can you tell us what was it like taking over the company from figures such as Arthur Hayes, who is arguably one of the most influential people in our industry? And he just tweeted today, by the way, which is
awesome. Hopefully you have read it. It's awesome once again. Bitcoin at BitMEX was that icon. So when I was at Börse Stuttgart, BitMEX was the perp invented by Arthur, Ben, and Sam. That's I would say the most innovative product at all, maybe in the 21st century. And it developed the crypto industry in a sense, and having a chance to come to BitMEX, to lead it on the Beyond Derivatives strategy is, in a sense, a dream come true. It is a heritage because these are really iconic characters, and I'm not them. I'm Alex. I'm running BitMEX. But it's a dream come true at this point in time to build the strategy and to bring BitMEX, building on the innovative character of that company to the next level. It's absolutely fantastic. But naturally, in this fast developing environment, it's a challenge. But we're up for that, and we're ready, and I'm fully happy to be here.
And it's also kind of obvious that BitMEX has this new face right now since you joined the company. Did you see this like a big challenge coming into the company in an environment where it's pretty much under attack, right? With what happened with the CFTC?
Yeah, I think it is. I'm Alex. Yeah,
Right.
I'm not Arthur. I'm not Ben.
Yeah.
I'm not Sam. I'm not the inventor of the perp. I will bring BitMEX to the next level and beyond derivatives. And this is something that the company was looking for, and all the employees were looking for. We as a team are striving to build on that innovative character, as I said, the next level for us. So what I experienced is a very open mindset that my take also drove BitMEX to where it was before. And building on that one is a tremendous experience. So it was, in that sense, not at all hard, very open, very direct, like the crypto industry is in a lot of instances, and it's fantastic to be here. It's actually the best move to work from, to leave the classical world and tackle it from the crypto side.
So you find our industry dynamic and exciting, I guess.
Absolutely. I mean, I coming, as we said before, coming from the traditional world, I actually wanted to fully move away, going into the gaming scene. Yeah. But then early on, like 2012, 13, getting in touch with crypto and tokenization, and it never left me. I directly saw the great potential that we have in front of us, and where the financial industry naturally is the first natural step into that, where we can break up all these old habits, these old environments, the incumbents, the processes, the intermediaries. We can break this up. We can build a truly global market driven by the users. And this is the potential that we have. We've never had this before. This is a rare moment in time where the technology allows us actually to democratize the whole financial system. I mean, if we're not up for that challenge, I don't know what else are doing all day,
Yeah.
but this is.
Yeah. Okay, Alex, talk to me a little bit about the future plans of BitMEX. What can we expect from you guys going forward?
As we said, I mean, bringing BitMEX to spot is probably a good one. The first one, as we said already. I think that in the future, a lot depends on the custody side, who holds the custody, holds the client, and defines what actually can be traded from the wallet. So we see this as a tremendous asset. Plus, regulators will hone in on the custody as we store more and more customer assets. So this is a very important part. It's in a sense, let's say, a commoditized necessary part, but a driving part of the future. So we see that we have to be present in that space too. Regulation will require us, when we offer financial products or closely financial products to institutional and retail clients, institutional when it comes to high leverage, and retail generally, we will need a broker-dealer license to offer these products. So moving BitMEX into brokerage is a necessary means to offer our products in the future. I think we've seen a lot of acquisitions around the data space. So supporting trading behavior, trading decisions with real-time data, with movement data, sentiment data, social trading, social sentimenting is, from my point of view, something which is inevitable. You have to be present there, let alone real information products like indices and other information products that you want to roll out. And as I said before, we have still so much to do on the education part, transparency, be it in universities, be it in governments, be it market participants, and ultimately also regulators, which we have to convince about the possibilities that we will set up an academy to support the development of the greater crypto scene and industry, like we do with our developer grants and other products, to support the movement into that one, the understanding. So this will all be done under the BitMEX brand, and we'll build out. And we're very confident that we see the first things already materializing this year.
Okay, and talking about derivatives again, can we expect more like retail-oriented products like new trading pairs, mid-cap altcoins, and all that?
Yes. The direct answer is yes. Yes, we will. Derivatives will always be our heart and core and DNA, always. And this is what drives us, that keeps us running all day long and probably most of the nights. And says, yes, we will have more linear, more let's say, retail-oriented product. We will ultimately also talk about the option space and other spaces that are already getting into a very large demand from the customer side. So you will see these things. I'll not say something about the timeline, but you see the thing.
And I have a follow-up to this. How do you guys, because this is very interesting to me, and I think to a lot of the people who are listening, how do you guys vet the projects that you decide to list on BitMEX for trading? How do you choose this coin from this coin?
Yeah, I mean, we have a pretty lively user base, and I think you have to be user-centric about this.
Right.
Yeah. And this is how you decide ultimately. You see what's happening in the market. You get a lot of feedback from your users, from your clients, institutional and retail, and you offer what the clients want. Yeah, and develop ideally together with them this product, or you get input from the outside on market trends. And these are then naturally the ones that you pick first. Generally, that needs to be the case.
Right. Well, that was pretty much it. Thank you so much once again for agreeing to do this. I think it was a blast, the entire discussion.
Thank you very much, George. It was awesome.